Welcome to the Liars Club. This is where we take our guests, we tell them to give us the truth, give us a lie, we figure out which is which. I'm Jessica Wellington.
I'm Felicia Michaels.
And you're about to get lied to.
And today we have two wonderful guests. Our first guest is a young gentleman who is a doorman here at the Comedy Store. He has a podcast. He's really, really funny. Please give it up for Mr. Isak Allen.
Thank you.
Woo!
Feeling good.
Thank you for coming, Isak. And over here to my right, we have Jessa Reed, who was recently on This Is Not Happening with Ari Shafir. Was it with Ari?
I was right after Ari left. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know he left.
When I got booked, it was Ari Shafir.
Right.
When I arrived in LA to shoot, it was not.
We're getting too deep into this.
No, sorry. I'm sorry. I just didn't. I have no idea. I love Ari.
As three women looked at him with the shut the fuck up, we're moving on.
Amazing comic. She just did that. She had an amazing story on it. I heard her on Bert Kreischer's podcast. I said we had to have her. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me.
We usually like to start our podcast off with a little story and a little theme, and our theme is road stories. Do you like going on the road?
I do.
Yeah.
I love being on the road.
I hate being on the road, and I'm going to blame that on my parents. When I was a kid, my dad was in the service. We had to drive across the country. We were somewhere in Mississippi, and I kicked the door handle, and my brother fell out, and he rolled down into this ravine and got stuck on a bunch of barbed wire.
Holy
and there
shit.
was this moment, because all the windows were down, where it was so loud in the car, and my parents didn't hear it, and I was like, we could just leave this motherfucker here.
Oh.
Yeah, so how about
How
you?
long did you wait to tell them?
I waited about a good 4 minutes because fuck that guy. You know my brother. He was ADHD and not nice about it before ADHD was even a prognosis or a diagnosis. Yeah, he was an evil little fuck. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh,
Yeah.
that is fantastic.
Yeah.
I got a lot of road trip stories, but one that comes to mind is I was driving from Las Vegas to North Carolina. I was on leave from the Air Force. I'm driving, and I was like, I'm going to take in all the sights and do all this stuff. And once you get on the road, you don't do any of that. You just I need to get where I'm going.
Right.
Fuck this shit.
Right.
And I have, I think we talked about this a little bit on the last podcast, but I have a sensitive tummy. And when I have to go, I have to go. So I got diarrhea in my Mustang. Sitting in it.
Right.
And then I pulled over on this overpass, and I'm trying to clean up, and I have this beach towel around me, and this fucking state trooper stops trying to help me.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm like, I don't need help. I don't need help. I don't need help. Please leave me alone. Please leave me alone. He gets out of the car, and I'm like, I'm fine. I'm good. Please, just stay back. And I think he kind of got wind that...
He got some wind.
Definitely.
I'll tell you, he got wind.
He got wind.
And it was foreboding wind.
That I didn't actually need his help. And I was like, I'm going to be fine. I just getting cleaned up. I got to get back on the road. So then I went and checked into a Motel 8 with the
Motel
towel
hate
wrapped-
is what it should be called.
With a towel wrapped around you, because
Towel
that's
wrapped around me.
how the Motel 8 works. If you check in with a towel, they ask no fucking questions.
Yeah. Motel, it's like diarrhea is our purview here. Like, we take care of exclusively
As long
diarrhea
as it's
people.
not their towel, they give no fucks.
Yeah, wearing no pants. Yeah, it was awkward as fuck.
Wow.
Nice.
Wow. Thank you for sharing, Jessica. All right, what about you, Isak Allen?
It was when I moved out to California. I was moving to San Diego from Indiana. So I had nothing. All I had packed up was I was driving on my own, leaving all my friends, family behind. I had a suitcase full of clothes. I had all my drum equipment, my guitars, all my instruments, and just a little mini trash can full of like DVDs and shit. And I was driving, making stops on the way, staying at friends' houses, and it's just like, it was like a 4-day trip because I'd stopped at a lot of places to catch up with people. And one day I was driving, it was like snowy in Colorado, and I'd just been staying at some people's places, and I just got horny. So I pulled. So
I thought for sure this was going to be another diarrhea story. I got to tell you.
I was like, damn it.
Yeah. So then
Way
I
to
heard about
scratch
this chick
mine.
diarrhea thing. I was like, that's my shit. And I drove over there. No. So I was in it was snowing like crazy, and it was in Colorado. And you know how like they have those rest areas that aren't really rest areas? It's just like a bench with like an overhang, and that's it. There's just
No.
like, it's like 10 feet. There's like places like that on the freeway. You can
No.
just stop, and there's just like
Really?
a bench. There's no bathroom. There's
Yeah,
no
those
nothing.
are called overlooks.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like a
it's just-
scenic, like a
it's just
scenic
open-
area.
Yes.
No,
Yeah.
it's not even that. It's just literally like you
It
can
can't
pull
be
off.
called a rest area if there's no bathroom.
That's what I'm saying. Is I don't know what to call it. It's just like a rest area with nothing except a bench.
Oh, but there's no sign that says rest area.
Yeah,
5
but you can
mile
rest
or-
there. I mean,
Or
in my
if by
case-
rest you mean jerk off.
which is leading up to the story. So I just like, there's not enough people that drive by here, and it's gonna be fine. And I just like pulled over, and I couldn't get any signal. So
Andrew loves this story so far in the
So-
sound booth.
I just scrolled through my phone to see what if I taken snapshots on anything on the internet or anything like that. And I usually try and take pictures of funny stuff. So there's not like hot chicks or whatever. And what I found a picture was there's a really funny picture of Caitlin Olsen from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. And she was like drinking a beer and doing this. And she had like a tiara that was like hanging halfway off her head and just like a blue dress. And I just jerked off to that. Just like in the snow. And then when I was done, I was like, all right, let's keep going to California.
You guys stepped out of the car and jerked off into the snow?
I have many
I'm trying to
questions.
remember because I was still sitting. I think I might have just been like facing outside of the car. I think I had a tissue. I don't know. It's just
So
like
you were outside in the cold jerking off, and that the frigid air wasn't a problem?
Why did you get out of your car?
I was so horny. That's what I'm saying. It's
You
women
can't
don't
muster
you don't
enough,
get, that's what I
enough
was saying.
imagination for a beautiful woman. You gotta fucking look on your phone for a picture.
Yeah, when it's
That's-
cold and all my senses are like
Yeah, but
fucking,
you opened the door.
It wouldn't be cold.
I don't remember if I opened the door. I just remember jerking off and feeling really weird
You
about
can't
it. So I
steer and
repressed it
jerk
out of
off
my
at the same
memory.
time. What the fuck is going on in this conversation?
I feel like this is a story about making things more complicated than they need to be.
First of all, none of you are qualified to comment on this. Let's just get that right out of the way.
You think
None
we
of
don't
them.
jerk off on the road, right? We
I
jerk off
a
all
lot
the
on the road.
time. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
'cause
don't
your
get
thing
out of my
goes
car.
in. You can just go in and be like, I'm not obstructing any,
Either way, calories are burned, my friend.
Andrew knows
Either
what
way.
I'm talking about.
Well,
No, it's
interesting.
like if basically you're jerking off while you're driving, you're just hitting the steering wheel constantly with your penis. So,
Now this is a story about a big dick.
It always ends up a story about a
either
big
that or a guy who rides with the steering wheel super low.
I did a gig once where I showed up way too high. I've been up for like 5 days on drugs and was on an ecstasy bender. And so when I rolled in, I was way sleep deprived and should have just canceled the gig. But I walk in as Walla Walla, Washington, which is like this great room where they treat you like rock stars and like 200 people show up. And I had crushed there before. And at this point, I'm like a feature, but I've been doing a lot of drugs in a short period of time. And a lot of my jokes were about being overweight. But now I was like sucked up from doing all these drugs. And I tripped getting onto the stage and then was so sleep deprived and out of it that I was saying the words to the jokes, but not the inflection or delivery or anything. And the whole audience is just staring at me like, what the fuck? And at that point, I hallucinate a crawdad or like a scorpion combo coming at me on the stage.
That combo.
And I gasp and then stare at it for a solid minute. And then realize that's probably not real. And then I look back at the audience who's all just like, what the fuck? And so then I cried and I ran off the stage.
Oh, no.
And I get in the bathroom and I'm crying and I don't want to come out. And the owner comes in and says, you can have your money or your hotel room, but you can't have both because you're clearly fucked up on drugs. So I really needed the hotel room because I really needed a nap, but I needed the money for drugs. So I took the money. And the whole rest of the ride home, I'm driving through like the Dalles. Have you ever driven through the Dalles in like Oregon? It's like it's beautiful, scenic, like river, mountains, but you can straight go off a cliff at any moment,
Right.
especially if you haven't slept in 5 days. So I'm driving, but in my mind the entire time I'm being guided by magical trucks that are flashing lights at me to guide me. But there was actually just trucks like, fucking move, bitch. They're like flashing their flashes at me.
You're like, thank you.
And at one point I start to get pulled over and I come to enough to realize like, oh fuck, I'm getting pulled over right now, and then someone just flew past me and the cop at like 1,000,000 miles an hour, and the cop took off after him.
Right,
and the
right.
adrenaline from that like woke me up enough that I found a rest stop to jerk off at.
Wow. Did you get out of the car?
No, I stayed in the car because I have internal parts apparently.
I was in the car behind her.
Okay.
We waved to each other at one point with the free hand.
Well, that's how we warm up, and now we're going to get along to our stories. And what we do is we ask each of our guests to tell a real story and a lie, and then we will figure out which is the lie and which is the real story.
Are we supposed to prepare for this?
Either way, we're using whatever you say. So the answer is yes. So who wants to start off? Would you like to start off? You want to start
You
off?
want me to start off? All right.
Yeah, you start.
Okay.
This story takes place, I'm going to say I'm like 10. Maybe like 10, almost 11 maybe. And my mom is there's a lot of drug addicts in all of my stories. My mom is addicted to drugs and is way out there, just in outer
What
space.
kind of drugs?
Crank mostly. She was like meth now. And she was somehow inexplicably allowed in the Air National Guard. She was like a cook for the Air National Guard, and she before she got kicked out for drugs. And so she took us to a family day at the Air National Guard like base, and it was just like games and food and shit, and
like a little fair.
yeah. And at some point, I'm wearing. So this is like the '80s, and so I'm wearing like electric blue stretch pants, kind of. And back then they had like an elastic band, like an elastic bit stirrup pants was the thing, and then like a shirt. And I ripped the ass out of the pants somehow, and so.
Purpose?
No, just like on a fence or on a bench or something, but ripped the ass out. So I wanted to go home because I was embarrassed. I was just old enough to have crushes on boys, but it wasn't quite sexual yet.
You know
it
what
was
to do
just,
about it.
I
It
was
was
old
just
enough
like,
to
oh,
be self-conscious about
How
not
old? You were
having
like
ass in my
8,
pants.
9?
10. I think I'm about 10. And so my mom takes me upstairs, and she in the bathroom, and her solution, because she's high, is to just take your pants off. Just don't
wear pants.
Don't wear pants. Like, because leaving isn't an option because mom doesn't want to leave. Like,
Right.
this is free beer here. Like, we're not fucking
Jesus.
going home. So just throw your pants away. And I was like, I don't want to throw my, but like, I want to keep the pants. Like, and there was no, like, let's tie a shirt around or a coat or something. There was none of that. So her logic was that the shirt was long enough like a dress, and it was like
Right.
barely covered my labia. And I
Menorah
was
or
like,
Majora?
back then, both. And so then she said that you don't need pants. Kids don't need pants, which she did not cite.
You didn't have underpants on?
I did have underwear on and a shirt. Well, okay, so
I'm not defending your mother.
I was
by
like
the way.
5'9" already. Like I had
Right.
I was a
Shit.
big ass
10.
kid. Yeah, like I was like so I was already very tall. I was already bigger than her, and then her logic was kids don't need pants, which is maybe for like a toddler in a diaper,
Right.
but like I am
Right.
big as fuck.
I mean, this is making sense. My mom was a crackhead, and I was naked a lot.
Yeah, I just think like she's living in an alternate timeline, and that this just makes sense. That
Well, I don't mean to burst anyone's bubbles, but my mother was a drug addict.
Really,
But I was never forced to take my pants off.
you were never had your pants down.
Okay.
That must be nice.
I went around naked all the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. Am I the only one here whose mom wasn't a drug addict?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Today.
Oh, well, Andrew doesn't count.
And Andrew.
All right, so
So that's the story of why I always wear pants in public now. Because she won. She won. I spent the rest of the family day with
all
no
right.
fucking pants on.
So we don't. Okay.
it can be that simple sometimes, those stories. How about you, Isaac Allen?
So this is like the most traumatic thing I've ever been through. I was about 10 years old and I was playing baseball. I was like heavy into baseball. Like I was a fan of the Seattle Mariners hardcore because of Ichiro. He was like the only Asian like baseball player I
never
knew
heard
of the
that
day.
name, so
Dude,
okay.
he was the shit, but he was on the shittiest team. Seattle Mariners were awful. And he was Japanese and everybody, but Indiana is where I grew up. So everyone's so just like ignorant there that they just kept calling me Ichiro, even though I'm Chinese. And they're just like, Ichiro, because I'm the one Asian dude on any team ever that I'm in.
Right.
So I was like, I
This
would
is
do.
adding up.
Yeah, so I would do. That's funny. So I would do like the rec leagues in the summer and stuff, and then like the school leagues during the actual springtime. And there was one time I hit the ball. I was playing for the Oakland A's. I hit the ball, and I was rounding, and it was in right field, so I was able to try and do a triple if I was fast enough. And so everybody's cheering. My adrenaline's going up. I'm rounding second. The throw is coming in, and I'm running, and the dude's like, slide. So I slid, and I was running full speed, and I just didn't see like the depth perception of the bag. So I slid, and I slid late. And when you slide late, your foot, it hits the bag early. So I'm not fully down yet. It hits the bag early. My knee comes up, smashes me in the face.
Oh, no.
6 teeth just come flying out. Yeah, 6 fucking root canals.
How
One
old?
of,
Oh my
and
God.
one
How
of
old are
the,
you?
I was like 10. And
So
one
these
of
aren't
the,
baby teeth.
No, these are like full teeth. And one of the mothers of, God bless white soccer moms in the Midwest, she's like, they just, like 3 white mothers just came out of the woodwork, like, oh my God, like in their fucking heels.
Did they have
And
milk?
they're running over, and one of them ran to go, 2 of them were like, get milk! And the other one was like, I'm getting milk! And they ran.
What does milk do?
So you put
Because-
your teeth in the milk right away, so maybe you could save them.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So something about
I really wish I had.
drink your
That is
milk.
good information
Drink your
to
milk,
have.
kids. So one of the mothers got milk. They put all the teeth in there, and they managed to get them all back in. But it was like the blood was like on the bag that I slid on. You know what I mean? Like just covering the bag. And like we had to stop the game. Obviously, I had to stop the game, but they had to stop the game for like 20 minutes.
20
just
minutes
like-
for 16?
Dude. Because they had to
pretty
wipe all the
impressive.
blood off and like like rake it. They
So
had to,
do you
like,
have those
re-rake it.
teeth in your mouth
I was
now?
gonna say, can
Yeah.
you smile
You
for
do?
us?
Yeah. Wow. Wow.
Oh my God, that is amazing. So the whole teeth with roots and everything?
Root canals. Had to get root canals. It was the front 2, like these 2, and then like the 2 on the bottom right here.
Many questions.
God.
I know. I
many
don't know about this
questions.
one.
Yeah. All right. Well, I have many questions because I have 2 teenage boys, so teeth falling out of their mouth has happened. So I don't know about the root canal thing. I have many questions about that. I don't.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did they save their teeth when they fell out?
No, because they cracked, like half of them cracked off, or they had to put like filler in, or so I have many questions about
Right,
that.
to get all 6 out in one piece
Yeah.
seems...
So a knee took out 6 teeth in your mouth.
They didn't take out. I knocked them out with my
knocked out
knee.
Yeah, that's what I'm
16.
saying. Like,
No,
you
I just
knocked
took
out-
them out. Just like
and they were able to save all 6 teeth.
Yeah, milk. They put all of them in milk.
Yeah, because number one, where do you get milk at a baseball game?
It's the
That's
Midwest. Go milk a
Gatorade.
cow that's next door. Like,
Yeah, I mean, they could have ran next door to anybody's house. I'm not really... It's the saving of all 6 teeth.
listen, why didn't you grill her like this? Okay.
Because that seemed plausible.
Because-
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
The other. Thank you, the other XY chromosome in the fucking room.
Okay, interesting. So we're moving on.
This
to
is the first time I wished it was a sausage fest in here. Like, fucking,
Get used to it, my friend. Anyway, so what about you? What's your second story?
All right, so my second story is about the same mom, but she's different now.
She's sober now?
This is about 10 years later. She's sober. She's a born-again Christian.
Oh, no.
She's a real, yeah, it was worse. It was
Oh,
worse.
no.
Real hardworking lady. And we really miss each other because by this point, I am partying really hard. And I'm doing stand-up. This is a little bit before I get cracked out on drugs. And I'm living in her basement because that's where you live when you do stand-up. And I'm about 21, and I don't have much of a work ethic. I've never really... I've managed to only have a job like 5 years of my life. I always managed to find something else to do, drugs and shit. But she got me a job. She wanted me. I was on the road like 2 to 3 weeks out of the month.
May I interrupt your story for a question? What kind of drugs did you do? What was your thing?
I was
The
a
best
meth
ones?
addict for 6 years.
Oh, really?
On accident. I got accidentally addicted to it on the road. That should have been my road story.
as one is wont to do.
I was at a gig and I thought I was doing coke and it was meth.
And you were addicted just
And
like
immediately
that?
I was like, oh, here's the best thing that's ever happened to me.
It is pretty great. You get like an adrenaline rush. You get shit done. Like I'm already too way laid back as it is, and with meth, I was doing stuff.
God, it's like flowers for Algernon. I just felt like a genius all of a sudden. It was
Really?
amazing, yeah.
Wow.
And
You
I
guys tried Adderall?
really wish I had known.
Just saying. That's
I
another
have because I
option.
took my kids Adderall to try it.
Adderall's the best.
We
Adderall's
only had
amazing.
Ritalin back then, and I know I can't try Adderall because I will love it.
Yep, you will.
It's the best.
But yeah, I lost my teeth, and I did not know the milk trick.
You lost your teeth doing meth.
Just had
They fell-
dentures.
Yeah, we got dentures.
You got dentures. Get the
I heard
fuck
him. I
outta
heard him
here,
fall
Willie.
out in Burt Kreischer's podcast.
Yeah, they came out fast. I already didn't have great teeth. I'd already had a kid by then, and so I already didn't have great teeth, and they just were gone. They were gone fast.
Wow.
And I would like make new teeth out of super glue at first. I would super glue the pieces back on. And then at one point we burglarized this is really going to take away from the next story. They burglarized the dentist's office, and everyone else was like looking for nitrous and shit to sell. And I was just like, amalgam, that sounds like what you make teeth out of. And then I just built a bridge of new, real gnarly
You
looking
built
teeth.
a bridge of new party teeth. Because I had a friend who lost a tooth, and then she had a temporary one that the dentist gave her, but she's supposed to go back and get the real one. And so she kept that temporary one, and whenever she went to a party, she would super glue that shit in.
Oh,
So it was
that's so
like-
funny. I just
that was
had
like
to
your
super
party
glue
tooth.
this one in the other day.
Really?
I was eating a Cliff Bar and it came out, and I was like, now
Jesus.
they fall out of dentures. What the fuck? So I'm like walking through Rite Aid, trying to get super glue, but like avoiding conversation because it's like this one.
May I
Yeah.
ask a
So-
personal question? And my apologies, Isaac. I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt.
it's okay.
When you give a blowjob, do you take him out?
No, it's gross. Listen.
Who wasn't thinking about that?
Everyone thinks about it. I do talk about it on stage. Everyone thinks about it, but it is
I was thinking about it before we started the podcast.
sometimes if their dick is really big, you take the bottom ones out and it just gives you a little more space.
Knowledge, people, knowledge.
But for the most part, both of them out. First of all, you look like bitter beer face. Second of all, it's way too much extra space, so you can't even get suction because there's just way too much, and it sounds disgusting. It sounds like slapping a head of wet lettuce into a baseball net.
Interesting. I'm
So
glad
the trick
I
is
asked.
just
But
take the
everyone-
bottom. set
Yeah,
out.
but so the bottom is kind of a nice,
Oh, so you have top and bottoms are dentures?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
full set. Oh, what was I?
How much does that cost to get a full set of dentures? I have many questions.
The original thing was $10,000 because I had
Holy
done
shit.
so much self dentistry that the oral surgery was a nightmare.
Oh, God.
So when the dentist
makes me
and I
cringe.
went in there and pretend, and I'm like 26, 27.
Oh, my goodness.
And so when the dentist the oral surgeon was looking at the x-ray and he was like, how are you not writhing on the floor in pain? You've got floating bone fragments, because I would just like cut them open and bury the otherwise they get exposed nerves and stuff. Anyway, it was a
Oh,
mess.
man.
Now they're like $4,000 to get. You have to get new ones every few years, which I
Oh,
didn't know.
really?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
which is kind of cool.
And yeah, that's really bad luck on your part because my mom did drugs for over 20 years, and it took her that long to get her teeth out. I mean, it didn't take.
It was really fast. It's weird how much you do. Like I could eat steak. I to this day, like it other than some types of chewing gum, it doesn't hold me back from anything. And I would not take teeth back if you try to never have a toothache again for the rest of your life. Because I already had like bad teeth before
Yeah,
meth.
yeah.
That's what it was.
And-
Like
Yeah.
genetically,
Really
you just
accelerated
we're
it.
not. You're
Yeah.
predisposed for.
Yeah, I had a baby when I was a teenager, and that pregnancy, they were just done. And so it was just putting out fires after putting out fires. And so to just have them out and to never have to deal with it, and they don't really look like dentures. If they start to look like dentures, I could just get new ones. And to never, I have to go to the dentist just to trade them in.
I just want to hear your life story now.
It's a lot. It's a lot. I'm sorry.
Wow. Well, you have a wonderful
Sorry for my
smile.
life.
No, you have a great smile. I would have never guessed.
Thank you
know?
very much.
I don't know if that's a compliment one should say, but there you go.
Yeah,
Well,
it's
she has a
not
great
something.
smile.
Well, I mean, if someone tells or shares with you that they have dentures, I don't know if you're supposed to say.
I'm not. So I think I'm supposed to be, because when I was like 28 and I would just freely talk about it, people are like, "How are you not embarrassed?" And I'm like, "Dude, I just didn't have teeth in my 20s. I don't have body image issues. Like sometimes I'm
cutting into your
250 pounds.
gums.
Sometimes I'm like, I don't care about any of it. I didn't have teeth in my 20s when everyone else was like, "Oh my God, is this a love handle right here?" I was just like food falling out of the side of my mouth. Like, I don't give a you know how many push-ups your personality has to do to get away with having no teeth in your 20s? So yeah, I'm like, these are teeth. Why would I be self-conscious about that? I have a fucking grill. This is amazing.
That's so funny.
That's amazing.
Be grateful for what you have.
All right, back
You know?
to your story.
All right.
Apologies for interrupting.
No, this is great. What was I talking? Okay, so my mom makes me work temp jobs while I'm in town. So when I'm in town, I'm living in Portland, Oregon. Portland, Oregon has this great, or did have at this point, this great after hours scene, this great speakeasy scene for all like the industry people. And so it would be like people who work at bars and dancers, and then comedians and radio people and shit. So when I was in town, that's just where I was all night. And it was open from 2 a.m. to 6 a.m. And then my mom wanted me to go work this fucking job. She worked at Doc Martens back when they were a huge thing. In the warehouse, though. And, like, when I did have jobs, I worked, like, offices because I'm fucking lazy. And I don't, like, I remember it like they rang a bell when it was time for lunch. I just remember feeling like, this is so archaic. I can't live like this.
It's like a sweatshop.
Yeah, that's how I remember it. She says that's not how it was. But... So I go straight from the after hours, halfway drunk still, and I get to Doc Martens. And I'm having period cramps. I've already used, like, I forgot my other shoe. I've already used all my, like, my stock excuses. And so my whole job was taking flat cardboard shoebox and folding them into the shoe boxes so that they could pack them and ship them. And it was the worst. You had to stand there and do it. And then the hangover's kicking in, and I want out of there so bad. And I'm like, how do I get out of here? I need an injury. I need to get injured so I can get out of here. So this all made so much sense in my head that I was like, I'm just going to take my box cutter and cut myself on the ankle real quick, just like above the bone.
Oh my God.
And so they'll let me go home. I'll be like, I have to get a tetanus shot, because it was
Oh my God.
all of this just fucking such a good. So I bend down with my box knife and I cut myself on the ankle. This is before it was like in, and nothing happens.
You didn't bleed?
I didn't bleed. So then I do it again. Nothing happens. And again. And I'm like, what the fuck is happening here? I cut myself 20 times probably. And then all of a sudden in unison, they all start bleeding. But now it is
so
very...
thin.
Yeah, very obvious that I've been cut 20 times now.
Right,
so now
so
I
now
have
it's
to
like not an accident anymore.
Yeah. So it can't just be like, I was just going to be like, I don't know where this came from, but now there's going to be an investigation. I know this. So So I take the razor out of the box knife and I put it, because I'm standing next to the stack of flat cardboard that I have to fold up, and I stick it in about ankle. And this is 45 minutes of me working on this entire project, right? So there's blood just into my sock, and I am perfectly lining up where this razor needs to be. And then I fabricate this story about how I was swinging my foot back and forth while I was working, which doesn't make any sense because I'm just standing on the other foot.
That was so retarded.
And I go into the office and I just sell them this line of bullshit. And they're like, oh my God, there was what? And I was like, there's a razor and I'm not even thinking what this means on their end. And they go over and they look and they pull out the razor and they're like, where's your box knife? And I was like, I left it at home. And so, or I didn't have one, whatever. And so they're like, okay, go to the hospital and get a tetanus shot, please. So I went home and slept it off. And then my mom comes home and I wake up to her yelling at me because I guess they have cameras in the fucking warehouse.
Doc Martin warehouse?
Oh my God.
And so they call my mom in the office. They think this is this big elaborate scam where I'm trying to like sue them or
Make
get
money.
like workman's comp. And my mom's like, I promise you, this is just her lazy ass
Right.
trying to get out of the rest of the workday.
Oh my God, this reminds me. Have you watched the new season of Shameless at all?
No.
Oh, it's good.
No, I keep trying to. I keep falling asleep.
Yeah, and he does all that shit.
Does he?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, yeah, in past seasons, you've seen it.
Yeah. He's I had a similar work ethic. Yeah, to the dad and that. So she was like, "This is the last time I'm ever helping you get a job." And that part, I was like, perfect. Absolutely.
When you got home, did you wrap it up?
I think I put like a gauze on it. I didn't go get a tetanus shot. I know that because that's what I was like. I have to leave to get a tetanus shot. Yeah, because they were like, what happened? And I was like, I haven't had a tetanus shot in a while. Like, just didn't. I knew that was my out. Like, if I have to go get the shot, I must have had an experience before where I needed to get a tetanus shot. Work sent me out or something. Mm-hmm. So anyway.
Wow, that is fucking deep, my friend.
Yeah.
No.
Wait, was that part of the
Shit.
second story?
That was her second.
That was
That was
her
my
second
second story.
Yeah, no pressure.
So I don't know which one. Oh, sometimes when people put too much detail in, it's a lie. But this sounds like a very Jessa story.
They both do, though. right? Like she was like, stick to drugs and they won't be able to tell the difference which one's which.
I mean, once you've seen fake trucks and owls, this could go anywhere.
Yeah.
Man, that means I'm going to have to stick to baseball
Well,
so I can make it harder.
What's yours? What's your second story?
I don't know. I was in a band and I was quitting, but they had one last gig to do. This is when I was living in San Diego. It's a band called Slower. And the reason they were called Slower is because they used to be called Mower. And they kind of made it big as like a metal band. They kind of like they got to open for Metallica and shit. And then they like just kind of got old and sort of because music is a very ageist industry. Like that's the great thing about comedy is we could all be like 50,000 years old and like make it. You know what I mean? Like it's not ageist. But music is very ageist and these guys got kind of old. So they were like, well, let's just do covers and slow down our metal songs into jazz rock. So instead of like an electric bass, they play like stand-up bass and like we sing and harmonize and all kinds of shit. But I wanted to be the drummer and they already had a drummer who their drummer actually loved my drumming. So it was one of those, and then he left. And so I was like, I'm going to be the drummer now. And then they just like hired another guy. And then I kind of started to be like, fuck this band. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I was still singing. We were selling out shows. And I was playing like I was like the all-purpose.
So you were in a jazz band,
jazz rock-ish sort of band.
Okay.
Yeah, we all wore like vests and suits and fucking. I had a mohawk at the time, like the whole deal. And then we
That doesn't match, but okay.
No, because it was like oh, you're not listening to anything. Because it's like the metal thing switched to a jazz rock thing. So we kept some of like the metal punk vibe. And just put suits on. That was the gimmick. That's why everybody loved us.
How
they
long
were
were
like,
you in
oh.
this band?
I was in this band for about 5 years.
Oh, wow.
About 4 or 5 years, yeah. And then I started
why you
comedy.
were going to school to be a scientist? Because he went to school and he's a neuroscientist.
Really?
That's the lie. No, I'm just kidding.
That's true.
Really?
So,
Holy
I mean,
shit.
No, I
you
have
know
a
little
degree
bit
in
more about-
neuroscience, and I
Yeah.
triple minored in psychology, biology, and German. But anyways, so I was in Ecuador, jerking off.
Why were you in
and-
Ecuador?
No, for the band, slower.
So yeah, Slower had a gig, and it was like my farewell thing. Because what I ended up being for them when they hired the other drummer was like I was just the auxiliary guy. So anything they needed to fill in a song, they gave to me. Rhythm guitar, let Isaac do it. Fucking tambourines, bongos, vocals, like anything they needed, auxiliary, I would just do. So I was just like, this is gonna be my farewell one. Is this the Ecuador thing? We got flown out there to play a surf contest on the beach for 50,000 people.
Wow.
Yeah. And I got hammered beforehand because the vodka, they were sponsored by this vodka company. And I took a picture with the woman who won Miss Ecuador, who didn't even look like a real person. That's how good looking she was. And then I would go into this little tent and there's just vodka everywhere. And I was like, are we allowed to drink this? And my singer just turns to me with like he's like, yeah, just drink it. So I got smashed. And I was like, I'm going to make the most of this dumb me just being this auxiliary guy on my last show. So we're playing. I can show you pictures. It's like crazy fucking view of the beach on the ocean on the left. And then just the beach in front of us and all the city and stuff on the right. And there's people just going nuts. There's like a platform that goes out. I call it an ego platform. Because it's like, there's the stage and then there's like a little platform you run out on and you can like sing in the front and be like, good love, whatever it is you're singing. And then like run back. It's like for your ego. And I remember at one point I just said, fuck it. I'm going to do something really crazy. But I don't know what to do. And so on one song, I think it was the song we were covering, Jet. That's Are You Gonna Be My Girl? And I was playing the tambourine part and there's a part where the tambourine cuts out. And he goes, are you gonna be my girl? And then there's just the bass line comes in. And I waited for when everyone was supposed to come in, including me after that. I jumped on the riser that the drum set was on. I looked at the drummer and he was just like looking at me. Like we did that whole music thing where we would look at each other like, yeah, we're connected. And I turned and I turned back to the crowd and there was like no ceiling. Right? It was just because it's big open air venue. And I threw the tambourine as high as I could in the air. It's like just spinning off into the night. And I jumped off of the riser And literally, when I threw it, I heard like a section of 50 people in the crowd in front of me go, oh! And then I jumped just fucking right as I landed. I caught the tambourine without missing a beat and started doing it. And like this whole 15 people were like, yeah! I just started going nuts. And then I missed my vocal cue right after that.
Oh,
I was like,
so pumped.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
I was like, oh,
and that's what got
fuck it
you
up.
laid by the Ecuador girl?
No, afterwards I was fighting off whiskey dick and it got laid, sort of. And it was bad. It was bad. It
I
was
see why you opened with that.
like I needed a fluffer for that situation. That was and it was bad because she was gorgeous. Because Ecuadorian women.
I never imagined you as such a bro guy until I just imagined this as like spring break in
How was that broy?
Daytona.
Being a musician?
That's how yeah.
That's not
way
broy. Bros aren't musicians unless they fucking play Dave Matthews Band on their acoustic guitars at
Sorry,
college
Jessica,
parties.
I can't have you be mean to our guest with that fucked up ponytail. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Nice, Isaac.
Yeah, with your shitty haircut.
Well, that's a good story. That's you came up with you had two good stories, actually. The one with the knocking your own teeth out and the milk part and saving your teeth, and then the throwing the
She was
tambourine.
talking about all her dental work. It
Right.
was like, I was making me cringe.
Yeah, I'm sure. So,
See how I'm buttering them up?
but then to think about your stories, Jesse, with your mom not letting you wear pants and underwear. And how old were you when that happened?
10?
10, yeah. That's kind of a little old to be telling a girl, even if you're fucked up on drugs.
Yeah.
Telling your kid, no, don't worry about that.
Yeah. I mean,
I'm going to guess this first one was fake.
that's your guess?
That's my guess.
I'm going to guess the first one was fake, too, because you kind of just sloughed it off and you gave very many details about the second one. So I'm going to say the first story was fake. How about you, Jessica?
Okay, the second story is when you were so sleep deprived. No, am I getting confused?
It's when she slashed her
I
ankle
ended
at
up
the Doc
telling
Martens
32
factory.
stories on this podcast.
Jesus Christ. She was slashing herself on the ankle at the Doc Marten factory to get out of work.
God. I will say that one's fake because I always go against the grain with these guys.
It's the first time I've been on the show. How you always go against
That
the
was
grain?
me. She's always right, by the way.
These guys.
I'm the worst.
I don't know because I could see my mom be like, "Oh, just leave your pants off." My mom went around pantsless all the time in front of a bunch of dudes at the house doing drugs, and she just wore underwear and shirts, and I wore no clothes. It makes sense.
When you were 10?
No, I mean I was up till because my mom lost custody of me, but thanks for bringing that up. No,
And here's why I don't believe that story, because my mother was very tall, and she would tell me all the time when she was a kid she was super tall before everyone else, and so she got hit on by men inappropriately at a very young age, and everyone thought she was retarded because all the young kids were playing and being nice because they were playing with this retarded woman when she was just their age. That's a true story. That's a true story.
Lord.
Very true story. Yeah. So if you're taller than your mother, I can't believe your mother would say you don't need pants.
Do I tell it now?
I guess.
We all put in our guesses.
Yeah.
First story, second story.
Yeah.
My strategy might have backfired, but so I knew you had listened to Bertcast, and I've
Yeah.
listened to other people tell their stories on here, and I was like, how do I make up? Do I make up a normal story because that will obviously not be true, or do I come up with something so outlandish? And then someone had told a story that was half true, and then it was something that happened that was normal. She met Judy.
Judy Gold.
Julie
You did
Gold.
that.
So it was like a normal
Judy.
thing that happened, and she added an outlandish ending. And so I was like, I'll take something
That might have been Emily's
outlandish.
story.
That was Emily's story.
Emily's
Yeah.
a good liar, by the way.
Yeah. So I was like, oh, fucking solid strategy. I'll reverse it. I'll take an outlandish story and give it a normalish ending. So I did go to the family day with my mom at the Air National Guard. But she did some dope behind a dumpster and then shit her pants and then made me go upstairs, and she hijacked my pants so that
She pants jacked you.
so the exchange between us was like this tug of war as she was commissioning the use of my pants. And that's when she was like, your shirt's like a dress. And she's like 5'8",
Right.
or 5'6", 6 or something. I don't know, gave a shit. Well, she's much smaller than me. And so I was like, well, then do you want to wear the dress shirt? And she was like, no, I just, so she walks out in combat boots, baggy ass, electric blue, stretch pants with the stirrups hanging out. And now I just have no pants. And then she tells a friend of hers I'm like so desensitized to the insanity now that the story was not, it was embarrassing, but not like now it sounds kind of sad, but she tells her friend, because when we walk back out, my stepdad's like, what the fuck is happening? And
Your
it was
stepdad was there the whole time?
Yeah, well, we were waiting in line for the bathroom, and she just did this like, oh, and I was like, I'm going to sit this one out. And she's like, get your ass in here. And then I had the awkward exchange of watching your mom like bidet her own butt crack in the sink, and then she's just like, give me your pants. And then I fought her for the pants, and then she won. Oh, no. And then when we walked out, and if I know she's going to, So then we walk out, and her friend is looking at her, because then the rest of she's wearing like the uniform, like she's wearing like the white fatigues or whatever the fuck they're called. And so her friend's like looking at us, and my mom says, yeah, I sat in some gum, so I had to take her pants, which I thought was the best.
Sat in some gum.
Just the best. That connected for her. Like, I sat in some pants, so naturally my child should... So
she's like my spirit animal. Because here's the thing: when I was a kid once in 3rd grade, I am semi-allergic to eggs, and I wasn't feeling good at school. My dad, because he was a single dad, made us a bunch of eggs, and then I was at the library, and then I got a terrible tummy ache, and it was in because I'm an army brat. It was in Berlin, Germany, where my dad was stationed, and so I was let go to go run to the bathroom, and I go to the and I hit the bathroom, and right as I pulled my pants down, I shit all over the bathroom. God. And then I cleaned it up, and someone came in, and they're like, oh, my God, what happened? I'm like, these fucking 2nd graders. So when you're in that panic mode of diarrhea, you will rationalize anything. Yeah. So, all right, wow.
So how did you get that second story?
Yeah.
You just...
I was just like trying to think of like what is a reasonable. I wanted to like at least get to that my pants were stolen, but what was a reasonable reason that I would? And I almost just said that I sat in gum, but then the second.
Wait, so which one's the fake?
Happened.
Wait, which one's the fake one? Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
The second story is fake, right?
No, the first
story
is fake.
Yeah, so I was trying to emulate the take a crazy story, but I may have added too much truth to it. So.
So the second story is completely true.
Yeah.
100%. The first story is still kind of true.
It's still kind of true. Yeah, I realized that while he was talking. I was like, I might have added too much truth
you just
to
gave
it.
us more of the details now.
I was trying to take a.
I'm never right.
We were both right.
Yeah.
I was trying to take a crazy story and make it. But I don't. Maybe I'm not capable of that. I'm gonna make it kind of normal at the end.
That's what you have to notice. I learned this watching the TV show Psych. Is that in every lie there is a kernel of truth.
Oh, absolutely.
So you have to try and figure out what the embellishment is around the truth.
Right.
Yeah, I was trying to reverse embellish. So I was trying to make it because her story was she really went to that thing and then she just added something at the end that was bananas. And so I was like, how do I just take the bananas part out? I should have said I ripped my pants.
With that Judy person, it wasn't her. So that didn't end up being true. She was actually... So the meat and potatoes of your story?
I fucked it up. Yeah.
No, it's fine.
Yeah,
no, funny.
No, I can't believe I got it right.
Yeah, that milk story, I don't believe it.
I don't believe it either.
Because if you would have cracked at least one of those teeth, or one of them wouldn't have been usable to put back in your mouth. Something would have happened, and they would have had to put a fake tooth or something in there. In my mind.
Which we all know how your mind works.
And
after
then
playing
the second story,
catchphrase with you
I feel
today.
like you just watched a documentary of the Eagles or something.
I believe the second story. I do believe
that makes me feel really good about my story. Hey, all right.
So I'm going to say I believe the second story where you were playing for 50,000 people in, is it Ecuador?
Yeah.
Ecuador, and you threw a tambourine up, slid down and caught it, and then got laid but had whiskey dick. Mm-hmm. That seems completely normal to me.
Do you think that's normal?
I think that's completely fucking normal.
Yeah. Do you think that one's true? Yeah.
I think that one's true in the baseball.
I guess I was leaning towards both being a lie, but. So I guess because the first one has to be a lie. So the second one I'll say is true.
Why does the first one have to be a lie?
Because we just feel it's bullshit.
I love all the details of the second story are like, and you jumped off, you caught the tambourine, but they don't have milk.
Yeah, exactly.
It takes a long time to acquire milk at a baseball field.
But who knows where milk is in this
Well,
world?
haven't you ever done something on stage that's outside
Yeah.
of your norm, and then it fucking works out, and you're like, that was weird. Like,
We
I think
believe
the
instead you had a
tambourine-
mohawk on a stage in Ecuador for 50,000 people.
I do
But
believe
milk?
that.
Get the fuck out of here.
that. I don't-
Got milk? I say no.
So, what do you think is Jess? What do you think is the truth and the lie?
I think I'm with you guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even after you just said the thing about milk?
Yeah.
Unless you're like a super good liar. Well, man, I don't know. The thing you said about I have pictures on my phone, the way that you said I have pictures on my phone was pretty good. If you were
Of
bullshitting.
the
Yeah.
teeth thing?
No, when
No,
he
the
was talking
Ecuador
about
thing.
Ecuador, he's like, I got pictures on my phone, but he said it as like an aside that he wasn't thinking about. So
Right. Oh, that's a
you should
good
sell
catch.
cars
Yeah.
if it's
I
if
think,
it's not
but
true.
I think no man would say that they had whiskey dick on purpose. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh, and the
So-
way that you started with that and then brought it back, yeah, that was you're one hell of a storyteller. If that's not true,
so what is the answer?
Well, so what's your picks?
We
I
all
think
agree.
we are in
say-
unison saying
Yeah.
that you didn't break your teeth out.
Yeah.
That story is true, but it wasn't me.
Yeah,
It was my
wow.
teammate Luke. My teammate
And
Luke.
but do you know for a fact that they saved all his teeth?
They saved all of his teeth because some blonde-haired soccer mom, chunky soccer mom, came out with a typical Indiana soccer mom, comes out with like a glass of milk. I don't know where she got it because I
That's
was in the dugout.
perplexing. That's perplexing.
I was in the dugout with the other kids.
I'm more
going
worried.
like,
How'd you get a
"Ooh."
glass? Why you got a glass?
know.
Why you got a glass on the rim?
She ran to get, like she drove
my
somewhere.
mind went with that because I'm from North Carolina and Florida, and being in a field like that with the kids, I feel like there would have been a house not too far away, so she could have run to
Right.
somebody.
Yeah, that's
exactly.
true.
That's why I was like wondering why everyone was so perplexed about the milk thing. Because like
Yeah,
you know,
somebody
growing
probably
up,
lived right next door, or
Right.
Yeah,
I don't know if she went to the grocery store. I embellished some things like that I didn't know. Like I didn't know if she went to the grocery store. He did have 6 root canals. Sorry, he did have 6 root canals, but I didn't
How does
know.
that work? You get your root canal taken out and then they put your broken
Well,
teeth
see,
back in?
Well, and then that's the other
That's
thing.
the-
I
yeah,
think
that's
they
the part-
put veneers
Yeah,
in,
'cause
but
that's
they
the
saved
part
his
that I
teeth.
was
I don't know what they
obsessed
did with
about.
his teeth. Because he had to have 6 root canals, but they kept his teeth. They got the milk, kept it in there, and they drove him to the dentist.
Oh, they saved his teeth
then-
like in a
yeah.
box in a drawer somewhere.
Maybe. I don't know, maybe.
Wow.
And then the whiskey dick, all that shit was true.
I'm just roasting you because my lie was bad.
So here.
Are you going to show us a picture of you with it catching the tambourine?
That was the crowd.
Holy shit.
Holy shit. Wow.
wow, you really are a
Wow.
jazz musician.
You really do.
Do you have a picture of the mohawk?
Oh, I remember, that's when I met him when he had a mohawk.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that I knew was true.
There's a panoramic view.
Fuck.
Well, wonderful. Maybe you can send us some of those pictures and we can put them up on our website that we're going to build next year.
Follow me on Instagram at the Isaac Allen. That's TheIsakAllen. And then Twitter at Isaac Allen.
Well, thank you. How about you?
I'm all over the country. Dates are on jessareed.com. I have a podcast called Mormon and the Meth-Head where Mormon and I exchange stories similar to some of these. And Jessa Reed Comedy on Twitter and Instagram.
Wonderful. Well, I'm Felicia Michaels.
And I'm Jessica Wellington, and you've been lied to.